This is ABC15 Mornings.
The race to vaccinate becoming more important.
I'm pretty concerned about these variants. I do expect that they will become dominant by the latter half of March.
Now the CDC wants people to postpone any travel plans.
The weather's having an impact. It's having an impact on distribution and deliveries.
Mother Nature also taking a toll on America's fight against the pandemic.
Reflect on their lives, on where their lives have been, where their lives are going, what they want their lives to look like.
Plus, the new harsh reality for a lot of families.
That's not a really healthy way for us to spend our time.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. How much time are you spending on your phone?
Space is hard. When I started this work, over 65% of all the missions that went to Mars had failed, had ended in disaster.
Can NASA stick the landing? We are beginning a historic day in the search for life on Mars. It's pretty exciting, right? I mean, you think about all of the ingenuity that's going into this. Yes. Hey, good morning to you on this Thursday. Kaylee O'Kelly here in studio for ABC 15 Mornings. Our Nick Saletti is social distancing from the newsroom. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I love the Arizona connection to this too as well. Hey, let's talk about that most accurate forecast and that weather this morning. Meteorologist Jorge Torres in for Iris today. Good morning to you, Jorge, on what so far has been a chilly Thursday.
Yeah, indeed, Nick. A chilly start on this Thursday morning across the state with temperatures well below freezing up in the high country. In fact, some parts of the valley in the 30s this morning. Here's how it looks outside from a South Mountain cam where temperatures at Sky Harbor are in the mid 40s now, officially 44. But look at Mesa and Chandler staying in the lower 40s right now. Glendale 44, Avondale 45, and those temperatures will drop perhaps 1 or 2 more degrees before sunrise, and then we'll be climbing gradually in the upper 50s by 11 and topping out in the mid 60s. But today will be a mild day, at least not breezy, but then beginning tomorrow through the weekend, warmer temperatures are ahead. In fact, the 80s could be arriving later next week too. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a few minutes, but first let's check on traffic with Chelsea Davis. Good morning, Chelsea.
Good morning, Jorge. Thanks for joining us today. All right, everybody, let's talk about what's going on with our roadways. I'm going to start. I just did it again. I start with our ADOT camera. If you're traveling on Loop 202 Red Mountain in the northbound direction, we are seeing that closure still in place near University Drive because of a deadly crash. This may reopen soon. We'll keep you posted on that. I've seen a lot of activity, what appears to be clearing. I know the investigation's still underway though. So let me show you where exactly this is in case you aren't sure. It's just north of US 60 on Loop 202 Red Mountain, and you're gonna see that closure between Broadway and University Drive. So if you wanna get by and not get caught in the delays of the backups of the rerouting, you can use Power Road northbound to Loop 202 Red Mountain, or you can use the 101 to connect to the 202. The rest of your East Valley commute is quiet. West Valley, you're going to see your normal stop and go on I-10 into downtown Phoenix, and North Valley, we're showing green flows at this point. I'll show you some desert drive times here in the next few minutes.
Arizona passing some tough milestones in the coronavirus pandemic. More than 15,000 lives lost and over 800,000 confirmed cases. The good news this morning, the number of deaths and also the number of cases are trending down. For the first time since World War II, life expectancy in the U.S. has dropped by a year. That's according to projections by the CDC. For minorities, those numbers are even worse. Average life expectancy for Black Americans dropped by almost 3 years and nearly 2 years for Hispanics. Health experts say this highlights the complications the virus can cause with conditions like heart disease and cancer.
New for you this morning, the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines appear to offer protection against some of the COVID variants we've talked a lot about, including the highly transmissible South African variant. This is welcome news, of course, since there are worries the more contagious UK variant could become the dominant strain of the virus here in the U.S. soon.
I'm pretty concerned about these variants. I do expect that they will become dominant by the latter half of March.
And the CDC coming out with this, they're urging everyone to postpone travel as we start to come up here on spring break. Today, the latest data tracking COVID-19 for schools will be released, and it comes as Phoenix Union High School District is preparing to reopen its schools for the first time since last year. Now, the district set to bring students back to the classroom at the end of March. On Monday, parents will be sent registration links to sign up for in-person or virtual learning for the rest of the school year. Major funding is heading to school districts across the state for pandemic recovery. Certainly welcome news for educators. We want to get you right out to our Mark Thompson to talk more about this $1 billion award. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Kaylee, and they sure could use it because everything from Wi-Fi connections to learning loss, it's been a concern for parents over the past year, but now the State Department of Education, they are getting an influx of cash, allocating more than $1 billion to some of these programs, and they're getting that money from the federal government. Here's what we know so far. Every public district and charter school will be eligible for at least $150,000. Rural schools qualify for $170,000, and the most remote schools can receive $200,000. The two districts that will be getting the most money will be Mesa and Tucson Unified, both over $70 million. Starting next week, the Education Department will begin the process of working with local school districts with how that funding should be spent. Meanwhile, Superintendent Kathy Hoffman says that more needs to be done on the state level.
While this significant infusion of federal recovery dollars is good news for Arizona's schools, it is not a substitute for sustainable funding from the state as they move through and beyond the crisis of this pandemic.
And during her State of Education address 2 weeks ago, she was pushing for more money again from the state government, asking for around $500 million, that is, for K through 12 education. She also pushed for another $40 million for more counselors and social workers. The number of counselors and social workers that we have right now is just so small compared to the number of students. Those numbers are staggering. Hopefully this money will provide some relief. Reporting live this morning, Mark Thompson, ABC 15 Arizona. Guys, back to you.
Okay, Mark, thank you for that. 6:06, since the beginning of the vaccine rollout, you've sent us your questions, and our ABC 15 Health Insiders are working to get you answers so you can make the best, most informed decisions for you and your family. Some of the questions we've gotten the most: how quickly does your immunity develop once you get the shot? And do you really need both shots? We took your questions to our ABC 15 Health Insider, Dr. Piyush Gupta. After that first shot, do you have any immunity, or is it that you don't have any of that immunity until after the second dose? The answer is yes, but Dr. Piyush Gupta says not as much immunity as you'd have after getting both shots. Here's how he breaks it down.
After the first shot, I believe it's about 70% effectiveness. So you're still protected about 70% of the time you'd encounter someone with COVID. So it is still effective after the first shot, but it's not completely effective as it is after the second shot, where you achieve that 95%. Okay. That's why we're seeing cases of someone getting the first shot but still catching COVID after.
How long does it take for the vaccine to take full effect? The answer, 2 weeks, the same as the flu shot and other vaccines.
It's not specific to coronavirus or the coronavirus vaccine. It's just how our immune system works. It takes about 2 weeks for the immune system to fully sort of get energized, build up those antibodies that we need, so then we are in full fighting form against whatever virus that we're vaccinated against.
And Dr. Gupta tells me that's why we've seen some cases where people have gotten the first shot and still develop COVID. Think about it. If you develop maybe 70% immunity 2 weeks after that first shot, there's still a 30% chance you could contract the virus. But 2 weeks after that second shot, your immunity goes up to around 95%. If you have a question for the ABC 15 Health Insider team, send them our way, please. There you go. There's the address on your screen, healthinsider@abc15.com. It's the best place for you to get in touch with our medical experts. We'll take your questions to them and again get you those answers from the men and women working in the medical field day in and day out. They've been working on this pandemic since it started. Again, Health Insider at abc15.com. That's the address.
It is 6:09, and today Vitalant is opening its new donation center in Tempe near Priest and 14th Street. The mayor of Tempe, Corey Woods, along with the city's first responders, are among those set to donate blood after a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Vitalant, by the way, is the largest nonprofit community blood provider here in Arizona. To donate, you want to do that? Just sign up at vitalant.org. And up next here on ABC15 Mornings, you will meet her. She is a talented and inspiring high school artist from Glendale who put together this gorgeous mural.
Well, the pandemic causing big changes to work, school, and even relationships, and not always for the best. Coming up, how a local attorney says divorce proceedings are being impacted as they make their way through the courts.
Tracking your most accurate forecast on this chilly Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Jorge Torres filling in for Iris. Time right now is 6:12 and it's dry out there. Here's a look at Desert Doppler. For the past few days, we've been talking about light snow showers up in the high country and along parts of the Mogollon Rim. And not the case finally, and also not the case the wind, which has been with us for the past couple of days too. And a look at Futurecast showing you some passing mid to high clouds beginning tomorrow ahead of our next little disturbance. However, it's not going to produce any rain or high country snow, just some more breezes, at least for part of the weekend. Now, right now in Phoenix, it is dry and it is chilly. Currently 44 degrees at Sky Harbor. Some parts of the outlying areas are in the upper 30s this morning, and before sunrise, those temperatures could drop a few more degrees. Wind speeds, though, are light from the southwest at 5, so it doesn't feel as cold as it did yesterday. And the planner showing those temperatures climbing gradually into the upper 50s by about 11 o'clock this morning, and by this afternoon we'll be in the mid 60s. But notice the wind speeds, they'll be anywhere from about 5 to 10 as opposed to 15 to 20 like they were yesterday evening. And a look at Futurecast winds, still showing some breezes right along the Colorado, but most other locations looking relatively tranquil for the rest of the day today and also for Friday, but it will turn a little breezy beginning this Saturday. Highs today will be anywhere from 36 in Flagstaff and 38 the Grand Canyon, 40s in Page and Winslow, 50 there in Sedona and Kingman, and across areas to the west will generally be in the mid-60s. From Lake Havasu to Quartzsite, Yuma, near 70 degrees this afternoon, and southern parts of the state will be in the lower 60s, and across the valley, again, we're calling for highs in the mid-60s today. But the warm-up begins tomorrow, but really cranks up beginning this weekend. Saturday, calling for a high of 75 degrees. Some breezes at times with gusts of 25, and a slight cool down in our temperatures on Sunday, but not by much. We're going to remain above average with highs up to 73 that day with abundant sunshine still. So here's a breakdown of what we expect for the next 7 days. Again, today will be mild but dry and not as breezy. Highs in the mid-60s. By Friday, tomorrow, we're back in the lower 70s. Again, those passing high clouds. And then by Saturday, those temperatures warm up a little bit warmer, up to 75. However, it will be breezy and a little cold front passes by. That'll drop temperatures just a few degrees too. We'll still be in the lower 70s to wrap up the weekend. Lows still in the mid and upper 40s. Then look at that forecast on Monday. Back in the upper 70s. Starting Tuesday, the 80s return, and they're going to stick around through at least Wednesday, potentially beyond that. So a lot of you are thinking, oh, the 80s are back. That means the 90s will be here before you know it, and typically that is the case. But as of now, today mild in the 60s, but we're back in the 70s beginning tomorrow and this weekend. So that's the check of your forecast. Now let's check traffic with Chelsea Davis. Good morning, Chelsea.
ABC 15 Desert Drive Time, sponsored by Accident Law Group.
Thanks so much, Jorge. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone at home. Happy Friday Eve. I've been watching the roadways for all of you. We unfortunately still have this closure in place from this deadly crash that happened earlier this morning. Let's look at our Accident Law Group traffic maps and also our ADOT cam. So Loop 202 Red Mountain in the northbound direction, you're still going to see that closure essentially between Broadway and University. This crash itself, where the driver ran into a wall at high speed, happened closer to Apache Trail. So if you're traveling in the area, you're going to see those breaks just north of US 60, and then you're going to be rerouted off of the freeway immediately. So if I were you, I would use Power Road if you want to take a surface street to travel northbound, and then you can connect onto the 202, or you can use Loop 101 if you're just sticking to the freeways, and then that can connect you up to the 202 as well. So we'll keep you posted on when that's clear. The rest of your East Valley showing all green conditions. West side of town, I-10, you will see some breaks starting around 51st Avenue, making your way eastbound into downtown. North Valley, clear and quiet. I promised to show you some desert drive times, so here they are for I-10, I-17, and the 51. Obviously, I-10 being the longest, we have the highest volume of traffic out there, but otherwise, the rest of your desert drive times are below average.
Chelsea, thank you. 17 past the hour. This past year, we've seen a lot of couples maybe have some trouble with finances, stress, working from home, all of that. It's drawn some people closer together and pushed others further apart. New this morning, our John Genovese speaking with a Valley attorney about the trends she's seeing and the difficulty that these major life changes can have on all of our families.
Navigating through a pandemic, many couples now spending more time together than ever before. A new study based off early indicators finding both marriage and divorce rates are down in many states, including Arizona. But numbers don't tell the entire story. Valley attorney Helen Davis with the Kavanaugh law firm explaining what she's seen over the past year.
One of the impacts of this pandemic has been to force people to really reflect on their lives, on where their lives have been, where their lives are going, what they want their lives to look like.
When the stay-at-home orders were put in place, many civil court cases were delayed or put on hold. But now Davis says they're picking back up, albeit virtually. And in many cases, in part due to backlog, divorce proceedings are happening faster than ever, presenting challenges for both clients and their attorneys in a virtual world.
And the court isn't always very sensitive to some folks' need for a little bit of time and consideration to get themselves to accept how their life is going to change.
And caught in the middle at times are kids, already adapting to changes in their own lives like canceled activities and at-home learning.
So now here's yet another change in the stability of the child's life where their parents are going to divorce and the child is forced to go back and forth between the parents.
Coping strategies for parents and families disrupted, with now fewer outlets and more stress. Davis expects virtual proceedings to continue past the pandemic, at least to some degree. But for now, she's urging couples and individuals to really think twice.
To make sure that this is a decision that they feel it is right for them, that they're not going to regret later.
And obviously situations where there's violence or threats of violence should be addressed immediately. But Davis says she's also seeing other issues when it comes to setting up procedures for co-parenting, especially when there's travel involved. Now, divorce rates by state and nationally, the final numbers won't be available for a few more months, but many experts, guys, predicting both a spike in marriages and divorces coming out of this pandemic.
Yeah, interesting at both ends of the spectrum there, John. Thank you for that live report. Appreciate that. How about this? Spreading some love here in our community. You have to see this. It's an incredible mural, and it's at the Outlets at Anthem. Painted by Chloe Meriwether, a senior at Mountain Ridge High School in Glendale, and we caught up with her about her inspiration and her message.
I just really want people to be kind and love each other and seriously take a moment, realize what's around you, be grateful for it. And you enjoy what you have, be grateful for what you have, your friends, your family, your significant others.
Plus, kindness is contagious, right? So why not? Meriwether says she loves seeing all the posts from people who are taking pictures in front of her mural. The pandemic is increasing the number of hours so many of us are spending on social media, right? Well, how about some new perspective on this Thursday morning and some hope for a fresh new day of connection when we come back. (6:24) Question for you. How much time are you spending on social media? Is it a couple of minutes a day? Maybe it's hours? This morning, we are talking about how all of that time scrolling could be hurting your overall mood and how you can change it.
So many of us use social media as a way to fill our time or pastime. And that's not a really healthy way for us to spend our time.
If social media is becoming a problem, triggering anxiety or self-esteem issues, it might be time to make some changes.
When we become harsh and critical, we really are unable to figure out what to do. And it just makes us feel worse.
During the pandemic, more Americans have spent time on social media, an average of 10 hours every single day in 2020.
Calling a friend or doing something creative like knitting or writing or drawing is going to recharge our souls. And really, that is the best use of our time.
Just as you schedule time to exercise or make dinner, set a short amount of time to check Facebook or Instagram.
In my experience, I don't think spending beyond 15 minutes per check-in 3 to 4 times a day is really going to put us in a good place.
Mental health experts also say if you are already feeling down or negative, don't log on.
Stepping away from social media is a form of self-care, self-love, and self-protection. That's a really good thing. Prioritizing our in real life relationships over our virtual relationships is key for feeling connected.
And these psychologists are also recommending waiting an hour after you wake up to check any of your feeds and never do it, they say, right before you go to bed.
Training the next generation of leaders and change makers. Today, Valley of the Sun YMCA is launching a new Youth Advocates program. 8 students will be a part of this. They'll spend weeks researching different bills that'll positively impact youth and families in our state. Then they'll get to advocate for the measures to our state lawmakers.
Up next here at 6:30, millions are waking up without power this morning or water because of this winter weather blast. Ahead, the simple thing we can do here in Arizona to help those in need.
And right now, NASA is in the final stretch of a 7-month journey from Earth. In a matter of hours, the search for life on the red planet could begin.